And let's dive into the actual process. So what do admissions officers look for? I want you to think about that for 5 seconds, maybe 10, as I go through this. Um, True or false? Do schools have an algorithm to determine who is accepted, or as some may say rejected? I like to say denied. Uh, do schools have an algorithm for this? True or false?
We're getting a
Am
lot
I
of
getting
falses.
responses? I'm
We're
getting,
getting
yeah,
false,
look at
false,
that. I
false,
see
true.
the little light is going off. Well, that's nice. It's a nice feature. I'm still getting used to some of the Zoom functions. And it is false. Correct. Most elite schools use a holistic review in which individual admissions officers assess every part of the application. I can attest to that, and certainly is what I emphasize as well when I advise my students at InGenius. Here are just some snippets, and I think this is true to form. I think this is spot on. If you look at some of the highlighted language, academic excellence, intellectual vitality, personal context, 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 context. That is something I always, with any part of the application, I don't look at it in a vacuum. I look at it in the context of the person's life, in the context of their application, context of their circumstances, their school. All of that needs to be part of the story. You get professors, who in an admissions committee, you actually might see a professor or deans. You may see them sit in on the admissions committee and weigh in. So if a professor can see themselves working with you, that can help as well. And that comes by way of a lot of, the indicators across the application, letters of recommendation, activities, and so forth. We'll get into that in a moment. Okay, and these are some of the most selective schools in the country. So takeaway. Admissions officers are looking for engaged, interesting human beings who will positively contribute to their school inside and outside the classroom you're used to come. That is a very good way of putting it. And of course, it sounds like it makes sense. It sounds like it's logical. It sounds simple enough, but there's a lot of hard work that goes into this. And I'll go more into that a little bit later, and of course, answer any of your questions. At most competitive schools, I love this slide. Most admissions officers are looking for students who will change the world. Well, and by changing the world, it doesn't mean that you have to have, let's say, the conventional global impact. Local impact also matters. Your community, the people around you. Who are you reaching out to? Who are you impacting with your good deeds and your talents? Something to think about. Applications, how are they processed? Do you know how many applications are reviewed in the admissions office? Quite a few. So we're talking about tens of thousands, and we're talking about, in some cases, a number of cases over 50,000, maybe over 60,000, depending on the school. A lot is going on, and there's a lot of reading. And as we used to say at Yale, you read a certain number of every day for months. If you miss one day, you got to make up that file reading at some point. So keeping up based on the admissions officer and his matters. But without a wonderful admissions office, a staff that manages the workflow, we would be lost. We need a full-time team. And I was very fortunate to serve with a wonderful team in my past offices. But really, this is the way it works. It goes through this process of being sorted through. It gets the applications all get assigned to their respective area officers. So when I worked at Yale, I covered a certain region of the country, and so I would be the primary reader. I was the primary recruiter and primary reader for those regions. I would then read and send it off to someone else who knows not as much about the region, but who was a trained reader, an admissions officer, an admissions reader, and gives sort of almost like an objective view. So that sort of goes in as well. And then after that, we do the committee process. We do the reads. The notes are already taken. We look at the roster of students and their profiles. And an admissions officer goes ready in to present, and that person presents their region to a committee of several, mostly senior admissions officers. Again, may include a professor, may include deans as well. Those are the people who will be working with students once they arrive on campus. Okay. This is I also like this slide because I think this is an important takeaway. The area officer for the region assigned to a region is really the face of that region on the committee. So this person will know the applicant pool well in that region, will know the trends, will know the curricula, and will provide that context at the committee table if the committee members do have questions about. Usually a question I would get is, how does this student look in context? Again, that word context comes up, and as an admissions officer, that person has to qualify what's going on, what's the landscape look like, how does this person look at this at their school and in their region, comparatively speaking.